Presenting the plaque to Bill Curry is Edgar Downing, General Counsel, Mobile Gas.
If our present nightmare in the political arena ever makes you doubt the power and the beauty of the United States of America, you don't have to look any farther than Tamba Ali. God bless you. If you've ever fallen victim and fallen prey to the nightmare that surrounded Joe Paterno and his family, you don't have to look any farther than Tamba Ali. Steve, I got in trouble with ESPN because I was informed you do not select the player of the game. And especially not an offensive lineman. I said, get out the tape and watch him play, and you won't argue with me. It's such an honor to be inducted with you two guys and with your beautiful families here. I'm grateful to you, to my dear friend Phil Savage, the great Homer Smith, and I do mean the great Homer Smith. Mrs. Smith is here tonight. I wish Homer could be here to see Phil Savage running this wonderful organization. Homer says to me, I got a baseball player from South Alabama. I want to hire him to coach our offensive unit. I said, I don't want a baseball guy. I tried baseball. I was disappointed in baseball. I don't want, and he said, well, you just need to meet him. So I met Phil and I said, no, he doesn't need to coach football. He needs to go to Hollywood. He's too good looking. He can't possibly coach football. And Homer might have said something like, well, he'll probably become a general manager in the National Football League, but I'm not sure he said anything like that. But Phil did that. And now he's doing a masterful job of conducting the business of the Senior Bowl, which is a very important entity for all of us. I'd like to say a word about another great human being, Kevin Turner, whom we lost last week to ALS. A great football player, much more importantly, a great human being, a great Alabama Crimson Tide player, and a great player for the Patriots and the Eagles, a winner of the Ed Block Courage Award, selected by his teammates. I wish Kevin could be here tonight, and I can't let this opportunity pass in his home state without saying how very much he means to the legacy, not just of Alabama football, but to all of football, because he never flinched, he never complained. He kept his vigor, he kept his humor to the very end. It is my sincere prayer that I can conduct myself with the same dignity when it's my turn to deal with the reality of death. There are a number of people here tonight that are very, very dear to me. I'm going to give you their names. I could speak at length about each of them. I will not do that. My wife, Carolyn, without whom I would not be here. Not only I wouldn't be anywhere, I wouldn't be alive. She is the light of my life. I have loved her now for well over 60 years. We've been married 53 years. And she's been in love with me now for almost 5 years. Somebody said to me the other night, she said, you know, your wife's running around saying some radical things about women ought to be doing this, women ought to actually have the vote and stuff like that, really radical. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll straighten her out. You let me finish the dishes here and I'll give her a talking to. My precious sister, Linda Curry, is here with her daughter, Nikki Formwall, and Nikki's husband, David, and David's sister, Jenny Fisher, and her husband, Alex Fisher, and precious Sophie is here as well, Sophie Formwall. I'm so glad you could be here tonight, that your mom let you out on a school night. Our Tuscaloosa contingent is here courtesy of an airline pilot. And Tyler, if you'd have had Mary Harmon to fly your airplanes today, you'd have been a lot better off. You also might not have a 2-for-1 soup deal, but you would have had a better experience. Mary Harmon Hilburn, and I started to ask her permission to tell this, but I didn't ask her. She is Coach Bear Bryant's granddaughter, and she has been a loyal and trusted friend of ours, along with her husband, Charles Hilburn, her previous husband, Guy Moman, right by our side throughout the entire Alabama experience. With her tonight is Kathy Randall, another dear and cherished friend, and Kathy Smith, who may be the only person that was actually smarter than Homer Smith, the great football coach that hired Phil for us at Alabama and whom we lost in 2011, tragically. Bill McDonald and his beautiful wife Diane are here tonight. Bill McDonald is, yeah, go ahead, you can clap for him. He's been trying really hard to retire from the University of Alabama, but Coach Saban needs him too much, so he won't allow him. He still does all the planning for all their trips, and they take a lot of trips and a lot of big games, and Bill does all the planning. He was our trainer, and he was a great trainer, one of two trainers that I think made differences in the lives of every single player that they touched in a positive way. The other one was the great Ed Block of the Baltimore Colts. So I'm grateful to each of you for being here tonight. Carol and I have not only been married 53 years, but we're now grandparents, and we've learned so much, and I think a lot when I see occasions like this, and I understand the responsibility that goes with this kind of honor, that we need to connect with this generation, and we're not doing a very good job. We've got 7 grandchildren now, and I try hard to understand them and to communicate with them. I was able to spend a lot of time with our oldest granddaughter, Evelyn, because I was working for ESPN and I had time in the off season. I relearned the whole diaper routine and taking walks, and we rocked a lot and we talked a lot. She's this beautiful child, and one day I was just enjoying the time so much, and I said, Evelyn, I love you so very much, and there's so very much that I would like to tell you. And she said, the grandchildren called me Bo. She said, well, Bo, there are things I wish I could tell you too. And I said, go ahead, you can tell me. She said, your breath is terrible. I never go anywhere, ever anymore, without what I learned from precious Evelyn. We've got a grandson. Did I say that my sister Linda is the grandmother of Sophie? If I hadn't said that, she would kill me. Linda Curry is Sophie's grandmother. She is Nikki's mom. I should have told you that. It dawned on me, I'm making a bad mistake here. Brett, who's now 7, when he was 5, he's got teenage brothers, big brothers, Alex and Elliot. I walk in his house, he sees me, and as I come in the door, they think I'm a large toy. All the grandchildren think that. He said, Bo, come on, get your ass upstairs. We're going to play video games. I said, what'd you say? Don't you ever speak like that to anybody. Sit down. Listen to me. You say please and thank you. You be polite. You don't use language like that when you're speaking with adults. And he thought a minute and he said, oh, okay, get your ass upstairs, please. Are we communicating with our young people? So if you're in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame, I think, and I'm speaking for myself now, the other guys can decide. They're plenty men enough to make their own decisions, but we have an enormous responsibility to teach the good stuff about football. The good stuff about football is that you can't be a racist and step into the huddle. My Senior Bowl experience was transformative, and I want to close with this. When I got here, I saw that our coach was Tom Landry. Imagine an entire week in the presence of Tom Landry. It was transformative. It was life-changing as a football player, more importantly as a spiritual being. He didn't have to stand up and quote scripture or talk big time. All he had to do was be there. And you understood the presence of the Holy Spirit in a great competitor and a great human being. And then the quarterback was Joe Willie Namath, who I was supposed to hate because I was from Georgia Tech, and Alabama and Georgia Tech had this hate thing. That was the stupidest thing that's ever happened between those two schools. Within 5 minutes of the center quarterback exchange drill, Joe and I were best friends, and that has never changed. He stood right by our side throughout the entire Alabama experience. I will always be grateful for that. I will not be grateful for his performance in Super Bowl III. I will never forgive him for that. That's inexcusable that he could have done such a thing and ruin our year like that. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, I'm fond of saying when I reported to the Green Bay Packers, and that's an absolute truth about the North Central guy, was so intimidated when I told him I was going to tell Coach Lombardi that it was his fault that I wasn't there. He chartered us the plane to send me, but I was more intimidated, and I'm fond of saying that I had never been in a huddle with an African-American player at that time, but that's not quite true. I realized that thinking about this evening. I stepped in a huddle with an African-American here, because Bob Hayes was the first African-American player to play in the Senior Bowl, and I had the privilege of being in that huddle with him. He was wonderful. He was the fastest human being on earth. And one day, as the children mobbed him, he had just won the gold medal in the Olympics in Tokyo. He won 2 gold medals, actually. And the kids would rush up to him and say, "Mr. Hayes, fastest guy in the world." And he would say to the children, "No, I'm not the fastest man in the world." And their face would fall. And I said, "Man, what's wrong with you?" I was just hanging. I would sit with him on the bus just to try to pick his brain to see what made him tick. I said, "Why would you say that to the child? You are the fastest man in the world." He said, "No, I'm not the fastest guy in the world." He actually said this to me, Tomba. I said, "Well, then who is the fastest guy in the world?" He said, "Some guy in Africa can outrun me." I can tell you right now. He had such humility. He did not want to be known as the fastest guy in the world. He just wanted to make the team and play, and of course he did. And so sorry that he's not with us anymore. But the thing that he did was most important is that he loved me, and we remained friends forever. I would not have been privileged to have had the opportunity to do many of the things that I've been allowed to do were it not for the opportunity to play in this game, and for you to bring me back and honor me in such a way, Phil, I will never forget.